Ghosts of championships past loom overhead. The Celtics have been there before. From the days of Bob Cousy to John Havlicek.
Havlicek steals it. Over the stand throw. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over.
And on into the 80s with Larry Bird sparking his teammates to 5 finals appearances. Decisive playoff games are nothing new to the legendary Celtics. Their winning record speaks for itself. And for the youngsters, dreams of continuing that tradition rest on their eager shoulders. The irreverent Pacers have never advanced in an NBA playoff series. Today, an opportunity to earn respect. That thought must lay heavy on their minds. Today, the explosive Chuck Person and his Pacers challenge that Celtic mystique in Game 5 in Boston.
Ready to rotate up. You ready to rotate up?
Michael at the foul line. A shot on the air. Goal! This is the NBA on NBC. The 1991 NBA playoffs. Today, it's the Indiana Pacers versus the Boston Celtics.
For Chuck Person and the Indiana Pacers making their way into Boston Garden about 2 hours ago. This is the biggest game of the NBA history of their franchise, and Person has brashly declared his club will put a dent into Celtic tradition, while Larry Bird, despite the painful back injury, hopes to spark his staggering team to the Eastern Conference semifinals. We welcome you to the Boston Garden. This is the 494th consecutive sellout with close to 15,000 on hand for this 5th and deciding game. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert along with Mike Fratello. And for Boston and Indiana, the season has come down to this. And Chuck Person, one who has never been shy about his comments, says it will be the Pacers upsetting the Celtics. And on the court, Mike, it has been Person's play that has particularly upset the Boston Celtics.
One horse that didn't run in yesterday's Kentucky Derby that Indiana will ride today is Chuck Person. In the 2 Pacer victories, he totaled 69 points. In the 2 losses, only 29 points. But more importantly, it's been the brashness, the emotion, the excitement that has fueled the rest of his Indiana teammates. Chuck Person honestly believes he can beat Boston by himself, but it's going to take some support from Reggie Miller to get the job done.
And there are many concerns for the Celtics to ponder, but Coach Chris Ford has been disturbed by the lack of productivity from 2 players who normally excel. Both Kevin Gamble and Larry Bird have struggled during the course of this playoff series.
The performance of Gamble and Bird will be the keys to this afternoon's game for the Celtics. Both players have struggled for points in this series. Both players are way down in field goal percentage compared to the regular season. For Gamble, it's been twofold. One, aggressive defense by the Pacers have forced him into some bad shots, and then having to guard the guy Chuck Person at the other end. He's picked up early fouls. His minutes are down. Larry Bird, who we've associated with the perimeter game for so long, has labored from downtown, taking only 9 3-point attempts, making but 1.
And right now, the Celtics and the Pacers are winding up their pregame warm-ups. It will be on the line for the upstart Indiana Pacers going up against the proud Boston Celtics. The introduction of the starting lineups when we come back.
Well, Larry Bird obviously impressed by the work of the crowd at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis Friday night during Game 4. Made the statement, if our crowd is into it like their crowd was, we should win it. If not, we'll be home for the summer. So Larry putting some pressure on the home crowd. And we are set now for the introduction of the starting lineups. Let's go to the public address voice of the Boston Garden, Andy Jick.
Here are the starting lineups. First, for the visiting Indiana Pacers. At guard from Baylor, 6'2", number 4, Michael Williams. The other guard is from UCLA, 6'7", number 31, Reggie Miller. The center is from Kansas, 7'1", number 54, Greg Dreiling. At forward from Texas, 6'10", number 41, LaSalle Thompson. And at the other forward from Auburn, 6'8", number 45, Chuck Person. Trainer of the Pacers is David Craig. Assistant coaches George Irvin, Bob Osipka, and Billy Knight. Head coach Bob Hill. And now introducing the Boston Celtics. At guard from California at Santa Barbara, 6'6", number 20, Brian Shaw. The other guard is from Northeastern, 6'7", number 35, Reggie Lewis. The center is from Centenary, 7'1", number 00, Robert Parrish. At forward from Iowa, 6'5", number 34, Kevin Gamble. And at the other forward from Indiana State, 6'9", number 33, Larry Bird. Trainer of the Celtics is Ed Lacerte. Assistant coaches John Jennings and Don Casey. Head coach Chris Ford.
So an emotional greeting from this capacity crowd for the Boston Celtics. Crowd will be in it right throughout. For more on the mood of these two clubs, let's go to our sideline reporter. Here's Tom Hammond.
Marv, the mood of the Celtics could be described as confident. In fact, this is the 10th deciding game of a playoff series Larry Bird has been involved in. By the way, the condition of his lower back injury remains the same, expecting to play about 40 minutes through pain today. The Pacers, of course, have never been in a situation like this. Coach Bob Hill is leaving nothing to chance. He went to the same restaurant, ate the same lucky swordfish as he had before the Pacers win here in Game 2. Just a couple of minutes ago, he challenged his young team to take advantage of this opportunity and earn the respect of the elite of the NBA. Mark?
All right, Tom. Same preparation that you go through prior to broadcast. Same restaurant, same city. I know you can relate to that.
And I have to give the pep talk to you.
Yes. The officials, Ed G. Rush, Jess Kersey, and Dick Pavetta. The Boston Celtics went 56-26 during the regular season. First in the Atlantic. They were on a roll at one point. But they had their difficulties at the end of the season. And they did end the regular campaign, losing 4 in a row, while Indiana, a club that kept getting stronger, they finished 41-41, 5th in the Central, 2 games behind Atlanta. And it has come down to this 5th and deciding game between the Celtics and the Pacers. And the tap controlled by Boston, as Brian Shaw moves it on Michael Williams. The matchup, LaSalle Thompson and Larry Bird here at the start. And Bird from the fake goes to the hoop and is fouled. Greg Dreiling called for the personal.
Bird has so much respect for his outside shot, even though he's been struggling in the series so far. It makes people fly at him, therefore the dribble penetration becomes possible.
Friday night, Game 4 at Indianapolis. Not a bad game, but as you see, did not score in the fourth quarter as the Pacers came from 13 back to win it 116. 113 led by Person and Miller. It's Gamble on Person who fires. Yes, Chuck Person right to it, and the game is tied at 2.
One thing they're going to try and make him do is put the ball on the floor, go to the basket.
And Chris Ford wants to get Kevin Gamble into it early, and he hits on his first field goal attempt. The holding foul indicated by Ed Rush on the Celtics. It's a non-shooting foul.
You know, normally you would think Kevin Gamble's playing pretty well, shooting 48% from the floor, but compared to 60, as he did for most of the regular season, he's down quite a bit.
Here's Miller. And Reggie Miller pops from long range. Minute gone by in this first quarter, and the game is tied at 4.
We have two great perimeter teams, both teams that make a lot of shots. Boston first in the league, Indiana fourth in field goal percentage.
And Lewis is shot out of bounds, so it will be Indiana ball. Friday night, and the victory by Indiana. Person scored 12 points in the last 5 minutes, 21 seconds, 30 in all. His touch has returned. Took only 8 shots in game 3. Here's Dreiling putting the move on Bird. Dreiling on the recovery, and Bird gets to it. Gamble with Miller back for Lewis. And Indiana back on the transition. Michael Williams trying to answer.
That's the tempo that Indiana wants to play. They're not as concerned about the first 24 minutes as the last 24.
Wild pass by Shaw, who coughed it up.
The other night, after Boston scored 69 points in the first half, Bob Hill told him at halftime, that's okay, they used a lot of energy up.
Shaw on the rebound. Lewis with the crossover. Boston 8 and Indiana 4. Reggie Miller played very tightly by Reggie Lewis. They double up on Person. Pops it out to Thompson. He has the good touch from outside. Rebound, Robert Parrish. Bird in the open court. Over Williams. Pacers down court in a hurry. Larry Bird had some words right in the face of Chuck Person as Person called for the timeout.
We go back a ways to the team defense. Larry Bird down low, reaching in, getting a piece, comes up with the steal, which in turn will help lead to a Celtic fast break. Bird, one of the best at finding open teammates down the floor, always looking up to try and create something for the rest of the Boston Celtics. And then if he gets off early, you know it's got to mean trouble for the Indiana Pacers.
Well, Larry Bird, who has been the recipient throughout this series of much of the talking trash from Chuck Person, with an answer to Person as the timeout was called. Let's go to Tom Hammond.
During the timeout, Bob Hill told his Pacers to stay calm, keep running the floor. This is our tempo.
It is a 10-4 Boston lead. Person hears it from the crowd as he unleashes. Chuck Person has hit on his first 2, and the Celtics now lead it by the score of 10-6. 3 minutes in, first quarter. Boston has hit its first 4 out of 5. Lewis and Dreiling for the rebound. For 3. Dreiling could not hang on.
As you continue to watch the game, there are some strange or different matchups taking place. As Indiana comes down, they will change up their defensive assignments. Person sometimes on Reggie Lewis, other times on the small forward Gamble, and as a result, when he runs out at the offensive end, they have to match up with him, which is in his favor.
Bird for Parrish, who draws the double team. Try to dump it off. And it will be Indiana ball. Well, the man voted the NBA's best 6th man, Detlef Schrempf, getting set to check in. And one of the assets for Bob Hill's Indiana club has been the work of the bench, spearheaded by Schrempf. And now Bob Hill is going small as he lifts Dreiling and inserts Schrempf.
And what it does now is it causes matchup problems for the Celtics. Someone having to guard Person from the perimeter, and then Schrempf, who does it inside and out.
And a strong move by Person, who's hit 3 out of 4. It's a 10-8 Boston lead. Gamble being played by Person. Parrish setting the screen. Person able to fight his way through. And Gamble is called for a travel. He thought he was hacked.
One of the things that the Celtics want to do is force Person to put it on the floor and take it to the basket. But when he starts to go, you got to close down the lane.
Now Shrimp putting the move on Bird. Person for three. Yes! From straight away, Chuck Person, who last Sunday here in Boston hit an NBA playoff record 7 from downtown, is now 4 out of 5. A 7-0 run by the Pacers and sparked by the Rifleman. It's Indiana 11 and Boston 10.
Miller Genuine Draft presents number 1 draft choices.
Today's Miller number 1 draft pick, the dunking Dutchman, Rick Smits of the Indiana Pacers by way of Marist College. He was the second player taken following Danny Manning in the 1988 draft. This season has averaged just under 11 points per game. It's been an injury-plagued season. He's been coming off the bench. Greg Dreiling has been the starter. Rick has not played yet this afternoon. A reminder, at the end of today's broadcast, we'll select the Miller Genuine Draft player of the game. Indiana on a run, 7 consecutive points, all 7 by Person, and they lead it by 1. Lewis rejected by Thompson, and Reggie Miller has Chuck Person, eluding Bird, but stopped by Lewis. Eric Smith has come on for the first time for the Celtics. Here's Parrish, yes, and it counts. The foul on LaSalle Thompson.
Person on the break, loses one defender, but good team play, hustle back by Reggie Lewis, bails Larry Bird out. And at the other end of the floor, a guy who's shooting 74% in this playoff series, Robert Parrish.
By virtue of the three-point play, the Celtics recapture the lead. Boston 13 and Indiana 11. Bird jumping out for the steal. Derek Smith for Reggie Lewis. Parrish with the head fake. Able to regain. Bird off balance. 6 points for Larry Bird. And it's Boston by 4.
Bird putting his shoulder down that time, actually trying to create off the dribble, which is unusual with the bad back that he has.
Here's Shrimp. Both clubs shooting well here in the first quarter with 6:25 remaining. And the Celtics lead it 15-13. Derek Smith back from the knee surgery. And Thompson could not hold on. Derek Smith was activated from the injured list 2 weeks ago. His career has been hard hit by injuries. Signed by Boston as a free agent. Originally a second-round pick of Golden State back in '82. Then it was San Diego and the LA Clippers. Here's Shaw. On to Sacramento, Philly, now Boston. Michael Williams on the pull-up. And the game is tied at 15.
Brian Shaw showing a little bit too much respect for the ability of Michael Williams to penetrate to the basket. You've got to get up on him 15 feet from the in the foul line area.
Smith with the step, penetrate, and then rejected by Thompson. Indiana on the run. Williams from deep, yes. And it's the Pacers 17 and the Celtics 15. Bird has hit his first 2. He has 6 points in all. Chuck Person has been on fire. And a holding foul called on Michael Williams. This is uncharted territory for the Indiana Pacers. They have never won more than one game in an NBA playoff series. Prior to the 26th of April, they had only one NBA playoff victory. They had never been tied in a playoff series. And we're talking of their NBA history. That Bird's first misfire. Look out. Lewis got a piece of it. Here's Smith. Game is tied at 17. Again, the quick transition. Miller able to answer, and it's Indiana by 2.
And that's the way that the Pacers want to play. Whether it's a miss or a make, they want to come back at the Celtics. They want the Celtics to play their tempo.
First shot rejected by Thompson. Celtics wanted a foul. Michael Williams. A bad pass, recovered though by Smith. Brian Shaw with a strong move. And back come the Pacers, but apparently it is a violation. On the inbounds, he stepped over the line.
One of the problems when you want to run back at people after a make is the guy who takes it out of bounds has to clear the backboard so he doesn't hit the backboard with the pass, and then must make sure he gets his feet out of bounds.
Rick Smits has come on for the first time. LaSalle Thompson sitting down. A couple of blocks by LaSalle. Tied at 19, 4:20 remaining in the first. Smits guarding Bird. Smith given the open shot. Well, Derek Smith off the bench to hit a couple, and the Celtics lead at 21-19. Miller with the strong move left. Smith lost it. Lewis followed up through the foul. Nick Pavetta indicating a block on Trent.
We talk about the duel between Chuck Person and Larry Bird, how important they both are. But this series, a great matchup. Reggie Lewis versus Reggie Miller. They're both making shots. They're both defending as hard as they can. It's a great one right there also.
Dee Brown has come on for the first time. Dee, the rookie from Jacksonville. That's Vern Fleming replacing Michael Williams. Williams leads with 4 points. Fleming, the 7-year veteran out of the University of Georgia. Brown, the rookie from Jacksonville. Now Parrish working on Smits. Brown checks the 24. 10 seconds remain. Bird from downtown. Derek Smith off the offensive board. Derek Smith providing a lift for the Celtics here in the first quarter. Boston leads by 4. Miller, foul called before the shot attempt. He was pushed.
Keep in mind that Derek Smith, when he was in Philadelphia with Jim Lynam, was very comfortable playing down low around the basket. They used to love to post him up and go to him inside.
Standing ovation for Larry Bird. He'll get a rest. Kevin McHale has checked in for the first time. And Person and McHale, who have had words in this series with a very hard collision.
Chris Ford substituting maybe a little bit earlier than normal for Larry Bird. Looking ahead to the second half, doesn't want to build up too many minutes perhaps on Bird, knowing that he'll need him in the stretch run.
That has been the problem for the Celtics in this series. The lack of stamina in the fourth quarter. Derek Smith was called for that foul. And now Fleming was hit. Things are getting physical. Dee Brown picks it up. 3:14 remaining. In an intensely played first quarter, 5th and deciding game between the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. And the Celtics lead at 23-19.
If you're going to beat the Celtics in a deciding game in the Boston Garden, you can respect them, but you can't fear them. You have to come in and understand going nose-to-nose against them for 48 minutes.
Miller shaking off Lewis. Brown hit the deck. Parrish able to get to it. Brown was looking for Smith. It's a leg block. Boston will get the new 24. So Chris Ford now has Robert Parrish with Kevin McHale and Derek Smith up front. Dee Brown and Reggie Lewis in the backcourt. Since Derek Smith came on, Chuck Person has had difficulty getting the ball. Has not scored. He had reeled off 7 unanswered at one point. And the call against the Pacers.
Tell your big people to set big, strong screens, but when the defender's determined he's going to run you over, sometimes even Reggie Miller, his size, can move. And Kevin McHale, of course, Kevin McHale may have acted a little bit.
Foul was called on Reggie Miller. Getting back to the subject of Derek Smith, he is a very tough, in-your-gut defender. And Chuck Person has not scored the last 4.5 minutes. First point for Kevin McHale, who has had an injury-troubled season. Still problems with the sprained left ankle. Also bothered by an injured toe. And talking last night with Indiana coach Bob Hill, he said his major concern is making the adjustments against McHale, who's had a consistent series.
Well, the strong point for the Celtics versus the Pacers as Smith turns and misses on the baseline is the powerful inside game of Parrish and McHale. But if Boston doesn't go to it enough times, they won't force the Pacers into paying the price.
On the shot clock. Coming up on 2 minutes to go in this first quarter. A three attempted by Smith. And back comes Detlef Schrempf. Smith took the bump from behind from Parrish. No argument from Robert. That is his first. And it puts Rick Smits at the free throw line. Well, since Derek Smith entered the game, the Celtics have outscored the Pacers 15-8. Rick Smits, a product of Holland, played with the Dutch national team. His family's still in Holland. Does have a sister living in the United States. He's been out with bone chips in his right elbow, and Greg Dreiling was inserted into the starting lineup. And Hill felt that the Pacers are more effective with Dreiling as the starter and Smits coming off the bench, and said he talked to Smits about it, and Smits said, yeah, I agree. I think it's better for the team if I come off the bench. Nice move by Smith. Derek Smith, 4 for 7 for 8 points. Boston by 6. Fleming rejected by McHale. Boston on the run. Here's Bryant. And a timeout being called by the Indiana Pacers. It is a 20-second timeout for Indiana.
A good timeout by Bob Hill. Derek Smith, who's come in and given him an outstanding performance here in the first half of basketball, feeling confident about his offensive game has been a big boost for the Celtics. But team defense ultimately will win this thing for either team. Block shots, change shots, and remember, the Boston Celtics this year, as far as opponents' field goal percentage, second best in the NBA, holding people to a 45% field goal percentage.
The Celtics in the midst of a 12-2 run. They've got it in the paint, and they've done it from the bench. Reggie Miller took that shot from Reggie Lewis, and Reggie Miller, the best free throw shooter in the NBA, will go to the line. Let's go over to Tom Hammond for a report.
Marv, it's interesting to note that the battle between Chuck Person and Derek Smith began before the game as the two teams faced each other for the national anthem. Smith was taunting Person, and Person was saying, come on, come on. So far, Smith has gotten the best of the battle and really has contributed offensively, which has to be a surprise. Mark?
All right, Tom, Brian Shaw has replaced Reggie Lewis, who just picked up his second personal. Lewis sits down with 2 out of 5 for 4 points.
And now think about this backcourt in a very, very big game. Pressure right away by the Pacers. You're talking about one guy that was playing in Italy last year and another who was playing in college, running the show right now for the Celtics.
McHale with the open shot. 31-23, Boston. Good play by McHale in fronting Smith. Crowd reacts as Smits shoved McHale as they jockey for position down low. Smith again open. Yes. Oh, he is on fire. Derek Smith off the bench for 10 points in this first quarter. Fleming for Smits. And the Celtics now lead 33-25. We're down to 40 seconds left in the first. Looked like Derek Smith came up hobbling off that follow-through. He hit the floor after hitting the shot. Here's Shaw, stopped by Miller. Shaw on the recovery, and it's a goaltend. It counts.
The ball was on the glass, even though it may not have gone in. Once it hits the glass, you can't take it off. Otherwise, it's 2 points.
26 and 9 10 seconds remaining in this first quarter.
Pacers love to end the quarter with a three-point shot to try and give them that lift, so you need to stay home with the perimeter shooters.
That's 2-point range. Shrep with the save. Here's Person. And McHale gets to it. Brown gets it off in time for the Boston Celtics. A furious start. After one, they lead the Pacers by the score of 35-25. Provided by the newest Celtic, Derek Smith, who has been verbally sparring throughout the first quarter with Chuck Person of the Pacers. We asked Smith, does Person's talking annoy him?
Chucky, we kind of get a chuckle out of him. Chucky just goes out and plays in his own little world. And if you're going to be good, if you're going to take Chucky down, you better not succumb to his antics out on the court. You better be above that and keep a good focus and concentration level in order to do what you have to do, because he's accustomed to doing it. He's done that since he came into the league, and he does it pretty well.
Chucky Person, a playful treatment by Derek Smith regarding his pal Chuck Person.
Yeah, I think these two players kind of enjoy the matchup against one another, the battle that goes on just within the two people.
Larry Bird and Kevin Gamble have returned for the second quarter. Boston 15 of 27 from the field in the first quarter. Nice move by Shrep. Net left Shrep cuts into a 35-27 Celtic lead. Indiana shot 10 for 22 for 45%. Mike Sanders has come on for the first time for the Pacers. Bird changed his mind and threw it away. Sanders with the steal. Lee Brown with a good play. Last touch by Shrep. LaSalle Thompson returns, replacing Rick Smits. Smits leads with 4 points. So the Celtics with a backcourt of Shaw and Brown. Bird is up front with McHale and Gamble. Chris Ford very disappointed. He felt his backcourt combination lost its poise down the stretch in Indiana Friday. McHale with his second field goal, he has 6, and the Celtics lead at 37-27. Celtic players said candidly they were affected by the Indiana pressure and the crowd. Sanders draws the foul. It was hacked. So Mike Sanders will go to the line. The foul called on McHale. Mike Sanders in his 9th year at UCLA, a very strong defensive player, solid complementary type of guy, not noted for his scoring, although when he plays regularly, he'll give you 10-11 a game, as he did as a member of the Phoenix Suns. Friday night, Mike Sanders hit a key 3-point field goal that ended the third quarter.
Big because it was a 10-point deficit at the time. The three-pointer got it back to 7. It gave everyone that extra little bit of hope that they could get it done at that point. Great emotion in the building at that time.
It is Boston 37 and Indiana 29. As the Pacers go to the trap, and Bird with a careless pass. He tried to whip it by, and it was picked off. It will be. Let's see, they say last touched by Indiana. It will be Boston ball. Check that Indiana ball. Michael Williams working off the pick. Gamble played by Sanders. McHale and Thompson in a battle. And it's another Celtic turnover.
Careless pass that time by Kevin Gamble. He had McHale down in the post, but you got to make sure he catches the basketball if anything's going to happen.
Here's Shrep. And off the back tap, deflected out of bounds. Indiana maintains possession. Sanders trying to post up on Gamble. Sanders, crowd reacted. They thought he traveled. And the Pacers are within 6. Bird on a quick release. He has 8. And the Celtics lead at 39-31. Schrempf getting down in a hurry. Detlef Schrempf has connected on 3 out of 4.
That's been a real tough matchup for the Boston Celtics. When they go with this lineup and keep Sanders at the small forward with Gamble on the floor, that means Bird has to guard Schrempf. He's had real good success against Larry.
Offensive foul called on D. Brown. Indiana will get it back, but first a timeout called by Boston.
And welcome back to the Boston Garden. Tom Hammond here with the Indiana Pacers president, Donnie Walsh, a former pro head coach. Donnie, how important is this game to the Indiana franchise?
Well, we've already benefited greatly by being so competitive with the Celtics, but obviously if we win it, we take that another level.
And what about your fans? Will they really get behind the Pacers if they see they can succeed in the playoffs?
Well, they've already done that, and so we're very happy so far with the result. If we win this, they'll be even more so.
All right, Marv?
All right, Tom, the Indiana Pacers in their 15th NBA season. The Pacers, the ABA's flagship franchise. They won 3 ABA titles, lost in the finals twice, played before capacity houses of the old Fairgrounds Coliseum. Sal Thompson firing one up from deep, and a loose ball foul charged on the Pacers. Foul called on Schrempf. That is his second.
Very important matchup for the Celtics is Detlef Schrempf going at Larry Bird, forcing him to defend, likes to put it on the floor. And keep in mind, Schrempf is 6'10" also, so the size is about equal.
Celtics by 6. 3 minutes gone by in the second. Hale working his way in. Pacers are doing a nice job defensively on Kevin McHale.
They work to bump him off the low block area.
Here's Schrempf. Rejected, and it will be Indiana ball.
2 layups for the Celtics right there at the front of the rim, but unable to convert easy shots.
Michael Williams and Vern Fleming now operating the backcourt. Schrempf up front with Sanders and Thompson. Schrempf. Wanted an Indiana ball, but last touch by the Pacers.
With this backcourt combination defensively for the Pacers of Michael Williams and Vern Fleming, you get good defensive pressure, good matchups here. Fleming has size to match up with Shaw, and then obviously Michael Williams against D. Brown, the quickness there against each other.
Fleming, the one-time starting point guard. Williams took over when Fleming was injured earlier this season. Gamble was blocked. Sanders looking for a tie-up.
Keep an eye as the Pacers try to force Gamble to go to his right hand. They're taking away the left. They don't want him making moves to his left hand. They feel so many things happen for the Celtic offense on the left side of the floor. They're going to keep bringing him back to the right.
Foul called on Fleming. Chuck Person greeted as he checks back in, replacing Mike Sanders. Plays with 4 points. So Person getting a rest. He was able to score 9 of the Pacers' first 11 points. At one stretch, 7 consecutive. Kevin Gamble, an 82% free throw shooter. Robert Parrish is back. Kevin McHale departs, leaves with 6. So Boston with a front line of Parrish, Bird, and Gamble, Shaw, and Brown on the backcourt, and Gamble blows the free throws. These are the 2 best foul shooting teams in the league.
2 layups, 2 free throws, they all add up at the end of the game.
Person couldn't locate the shot, and then throw the foul. That's Kersey with the call. It's on Gamble, his second.
One of the things things I would think the Celtics want to do is eliminate the number of times the Pacers get to the foul line, because when they shoot free throws, they go into that full court press, and Boston does not look confident against the pressure.
And Miller and Williams are virtually automatic at the line. Thompson. Both clubs in a drought after the hot shooting start. Celtics with a 6-point lead. Bird with the step. He has 10, and it's Boston 41 and Indiana 33. Person was hit, yes, and it counts. Person hit on the way up, continued, was able to drill it, and was fouled by Shaw.
A good sign is Bird making a strong offensive move, trying to complete it, taking it to the front of the rim, rather than just staying perimeter.
The crowd reacting to the re-entrance of that man, Derek Smith, who's replaced Kevin Gamble. He has become the inspirational player for the Boston Celtics, and over the years, as you look back to the glory years of the Red Auerbach-led Boston Celtics, how many times has this organization come up with somebody either down the stretch for the playoff run or even earlier in the season that has contributed in a major way? People like Bailey Howell and Pistol Pete Maravich and Bill Walton and Derek Smith now in that role. Played just a couple of games in the regular season after being reactivated from a knee injury, and has been instrumental in the first half here against Indiana.
Well, the top organizations, the top people always keep their eyes and ears open to pick up someone. How about Golden State, the kid named Ellie right now?
Larry Bird with 12. And the Celtics lead by 7. Williams hits, and the foul. A tough move by Michael Williams.
The tempo, the pace of running back at you does a great job of taking the crowd out of the game.
Welcome back to the Boston Garden with 6:37 remaining in the first half. And the Boston Celtics now leading the Indiana Pacers 43-38. Chuck Person with a 23-point first game in a loss. He had that unconscious performance in game 2. And games 3 and 4, quite a contrast. Bob Hill said, you can't let the game just come to you. That's what he tried in game 3. He did not want to step out. He did not want to hog the ball and just take wild shots. As a result, he got off only 8 shots, but was able to step up in game 4 in that come-from-behind victory by the Pacers.
And right now, the Pacers showing a little half-court trap, trying to get the Celtics out of their half-court offense, which is so effective when they get unrolled.
Bird wide open. Yes. He has 14.
Larry Bird 4 for 4 now in the second quarter.
Celtics by 6. Miller for 3. Reggie Miller, one of the more proficient from downtown. He had 112. In the regular season, only Terry Porter and Dennis Scott surpassed him. It's a 3-point Celtic lead. Now the matchup, Person on Bird, and the foul is called.
Bird waiting to see where the double's going to come from, trying to pass off to a teammate, but those arms get grabbed. No way.
And it was Sanders coming over to help out. It was called for the foul. Bird beating Person off the dribble, and now foul. Chuck Person called for his first.
One thing about Larry Bird, when he gets on a roll, making 4 for 4, and here in the second quarter, he understands that the defense is going to get up tight on him and force him to put the ball on the floor. Here he doesn't wait, makes a quick move to the basket versus Person to draw the foul.
Larry Bird, 2 for 2 from the line. Most unusual sight to see Bird miss at the free throw line. Mike, how difficult is it for Chris Ford and that Larry Bird can really practice because of the back condition? So at times Ford has to work around Larry Bird.
You just need to ask the player how much he can give you. Let's communicate, let me know. Travel there takes place, the ball will turn over. But let me know how you feel. Let me know what you can and can't do. You can't get inside his body. Bird is disgusted because he's in a out of shape. I haven't been able to have a good practice in so long. I'm soft. I used to be hard and firm, he said.
Another layup miss. This time Shaw not able to hit. Indiana down by 4. Beautiful backdoor pass from Person to Miller. And it cuts it to a 2-point deficit. Nice move by Lewis. Reggie Lewis has 6 points. And the Celtics with a 48-44 lead. Fifth and deciding game of the first round series. The winner goes on to play the winner of Atlanta and Detroit. And that's coming up next right here on NBC. Person was looking for a call, a late whistle by Dick Pavetta.
I think Dick Pavetta is calling an inadvertent whistle. He started to blow it, didn't mean to. They're going to give the ball back to the Pacers.
And the shot clock remains the same. They have 10 remaining. That was an inadvertent whistle.
Now watch, keep an eye on the dribble. What happens here? On the reach-in, Dick Pavetta on the baseline blows the whistle right there, thinking it was a double dribble, didn't notice the deflection.
Williams from deep, yes! Michael Williams showing his long-range touch. He now has 9. Michael Williams in his 3rd year out of bed. Boston with a 2-point lead. 4.5 remaining in this first half. Bird had it knocked away by Sanders. Parrish on the recovery. Bird is hurt. Bird is down, and he's hurt. Here's Williams for Person, and he's fouled. Hit hard by Parrish.
As Bird goes after the loose ball to try to save it, he does in fact get it, keeps it in play, but he paid for it, struggling right now to get up. Right here, the swipe knocks it free. Bird on the floor, then left hand keeps it alive, but he stays down for a long time. What effort by Larry Bird.
And Larry Bird is headed directly to the locker room for treatment and receives a standing ovation. And as soon as we find out the severity of the injury, we will have it for you. Bird sitting down with 15 points on 6 for 9 shooting.
If people have tried to find flaws in Chuck Person's game, it's been the fact that a guy this big and this strong doesn't get to the free throw line very often. In this series, the first 4 games, a total of only 12 free throw attempts, averaging 3 per game.
In game 4, Indiana 29 of 30 from the foul line. Boston with the 1-point edge. Reggie Miller. And again, the Pacers quickly to the front court. Miller for a 3. That was a bad shot. Lewis got a piece of it. Trent changed his mind as Parrish jumps out. Person posting, flip fake, and he drew the foul. Derek Smith collects his second.
Don't think the fact that Larry Bird is in the locker room right now isn't helping the Indiana Pacers pick up their level of intensity. They smell it right now. They know the leader is not on the floor. Someone needs to step up now for Boston and take over in Larry Bird's absence. Will it be Parrish? Will it be a McHale? Or are you going to count on one of the young players in the backcourt?
Person has tied it at 48. Chuck Person, the NBA Rookie of the Year back in 86, 87, 5th season out of Auburn. And he has given Indiana a 49-48 lead. The first time this afternoon the Pacers have had a lead. 3:35 to go in the first half. The missile received by Miller, but he lost it.
Playing that style, you're going to live with that every once in a while. A turnover on a long pass, trying to get an easy score. Boghill has no problem with that. It's the effort that's important.
Eric Smith. It'll be Boston ball.
After the score, they'll run out of bounds quick and look down the floor. You've got Reggie Miller trying to outrun McHale for the ball, just can't find the handle. And Chris Ford just told the team, I want the ball down inside. No more perimeter stuff for a while. Get it down low.
They double up on Parrish. Loose ball foul. Brian Shaw called for his second. Timeout called with 2 minutes, 54 seconds remaining. First half.
Everybody, Bob Costas with Pat Riley. We'll be with you at halftime. Your thoughts on what you've seen so far in the first half?
Well, games like this make names of players who haven't been around for a while. Derek Smith has made a name for himself on Chuck Person in the first half. Strong, quick, and he's doing a great job.
At halftime, we'll have Pat's complete review of the first 2 quarters, and Mike Fratello will take a look back to a great playoff series between the Hawks and Celtics in 1988. That's at halftime. For now, back to Boston Garden.
All right, Bob. Mike, was Pat Riley wearing a knit T-shirt underneath that nice-looking suit?
Caricature of Ewing on this.
Oh, I see. All right, let's go to Tom Hamill.
Mark, we're back with the Celtics locker room. Larry Bird came off the floor directly in here. Dr. Arnold Scheller, the Celtics team physician, was with him. He's the man that will perform surgery on Bird's back when the season is over. He went right in. They won't allow us in, and they won't come out to tell us what the situation is. We're standing by, but he's in there with the team physician, and no one has come out yet.
All right, Tom, 2 minutes, 54 seconds remaining in this first half. And the Celtics with a 50-49 lead on the Pacers. Indiana now 11 for 13 from the foul line. Celtics over the limit, putting Vern Fleming at the line. So the game is tied at 50. Deflected. Harris on the recovery.
He called it a pass. I don't know what you called it, but he liked the pass idea.
Boston by 2. Spitz back in, operating on Parrish. Nice move by Rick Spitz.
The one thing that bringing Spitz off the bench has done, allow Bob Hill to tell him, hey, look, when we throw you the basketball, don't worry about who's on the floor with you, about distributing the ball. You be a scorer for us. Put the pressure on that second unit center, which is very effective for him.
Indiana and Boston tied at 52. Lewis to the fadeaway. McHale rebound. Boston 54. Indiana 52 with just under 2 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Schrepp up the step and was shoved by McHale. That's the second called on McHale.
McHale knows right now that he's in trouble because Schrempf has the ability to put it on the floor and go past him. Plus, has size big enough to get the ball up over the top of his outstretched arms as he challenges the shot.
Then left Schrempf, an 82% free throw shooter. A product of West Germany in a 6th season out of the University of Washington, one of the league's most versatile players. He can go at the forward spots and swing to big guard. And he has emerged since coming over from Dallas as a member of the Indiana Pacers. Brown wanted a foul. It's a tie-up. The basket won't count. Very aggressive defensive sequence, and it will lead to the jump ball.
You can just see it in their eyes. The Celtics aren't sure if they want to really attack this press or how they want to do it. You throw the ball in, they double right away, and as a result, there's a guy standing there with a lot of pressure on him in the backcourt. Chris Ford may have to change his lineup on the free throw lane, depending on what he wants to do in the second half.
Minute 35 remaining. First half. A little fake move by Dick Bavetta. Well, he wanted to take care of a wet spot on the floor. Nice recovery by Dick. This looked like it was out of the scenario of a Harlem Globetrotter Washington General contest. So Indiana controls the tip. Schrepp. Yes. Net left Shrimp has 10, and Indiana with a 56-54 lead. Smith given the room. McHale, and he will go to the line. Fouled by Shrimp. That's 3 on Detlef Shrimp. LaSalle Thompson getting set to come on. McHale will go to the line. He is 2 for 2 from the free throw line. The Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers in the 5th and deciding game of this first round series. The Celtics have lost in the first round 2 consecutive seasons. Last year in the stunner to the New York Knicks. 2 years ago to the Detroit Pistons. The Indiana Pacers have had great success these last 3 years against Boston. Record of 8 up and 5 down during the regular season over the last 3 years. Celtics and Pacers even at 56 with 1 minute left in the half. LaSalle Thompson. Rick Smith lost it. Reggie Lewis with the steal. Looks like he hit his hand on the rim. Robert Parrish, hammered by Rick Smits, will go to the line.
Believe it or not, Robert Parrish is down in here, sandwiched in between Rick Smits from behind and person who is backing off Derek Smith. If that were Larry Bird on the outside, he'd have to be up tight. As a result, they can't get the ball into the post. Parrish.
Parrish, a 77% free throw shooter. And the Celtics are having some problems at the line. They are now 8 for 12. Smits sitting down. Riley was back. 6 points for Smits. Boston by 1. 40 seconds remaining in the half. Well, Thompson set a strong pick, but Miller could not use it. Thompson again out for the pick. Takes it on the pick and roll. And is rejected emphatically by Parrish.
Robert Parrish has been outstanding defensively here, anchoring the Celtic defense in the first half. The rejection and a little scuffle breaking out under the basket between both teams. Eddie Rush stepping in to straighten it out right before the half.
LaSalle Thompson and Kevin McHale have exchanged words on a number of occasions during this series. Here's Miller, and he's hit by Smith. Derek Smith called for the foul.
One of the tough things in guarding Reggie Miller is the fact that when he catches it on the run many times, he starts to show the ball to get you in the air and then steps under you to draw the body contact. It's like a floating type shot that he loves to use, gets to the free throw line frequently by using it.
That is the 3rd on Smith. Reggie Miller, 2 out of 2 from the foul line.
Miller with the floater, concentration, but draws the contact with his body. It's almost like you got to move out of the way when Reg takes off and hope someone else rotates to block the shot.
Crowd greeting Derek Smith. He sits down. Kevin Campbell is back. 1 point this season, Reggie Miller hit 52 straight free throws to set a team record. #1 foul shooter in the NBA. Giving the Pacers a 58-57 lead. As we come up on 10 seconds remaining in the first half. The call away from the ball as Riley got involved with McHale. Riley called for the foul. Let's go to Tom Hammond.
Mark Jeff Twist of the Celtics PR staff has just come out of the locker room with Larry Bird. What's Larry's injury?
Well, to our extent, Tom, we think he may have caught an elbow right near the zygomatic arch area near his face. Maybe a possible fracture. Right now, it took so long, which we wanted to make sure he's examined very well and very closely. Also put some ice to make sure he stayed level and, make sure he's calm and relaxed.
So it wasn't the back?
Not to the back of my knowledge. We're checking everything over, of course, in Larry. He took a pretty good fall. We'll know more at the end of halftime.
May or may not be back.
May or may not. We'll know more at the end of halftime.
All right, that's a report on Larry Bird, Mark.
All right, Tom. McHale hitting 1 of 2 from the line, and it's Boston and Indiana tied at 58. Here's Williams. Final seconds. Shaw was looking for a foul, but time has run out. A terrific first half here at Boston Garden. The Pacers and the Celtics tied at 58. A half that opened with the hot shooting of Chuck Person. Larry Bird able to answer. He had 15 points, but the story of the half, this sequence as Bird went down, and as you heard Tom Hammond report a moment ago, the Celtics are saying it is a possible fracture. So we'll have to wait and see whether it is in fact a fracture and whether Bird can return. Bob and Pat coming up in a moment.
There's a young, promising team, perhaps on the verge of becoming a force in the NBA, trying to make their initial statement in that regard. And the Boston Celtics, a venerable monument of a team trying to make perhaps their last statement in terms of this team as a unit. Somebody's going to disappear after one more half, but we're no closer to knowing the answer, tied at 58. Can the Celtics do it if they have to do it without Bird?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt they could do it. The 58-58 score is indicative of a game that probably will go right down to the wire. The effort has been great on the part of both teams, and it's what player and what possession will make that difference. And without Larry Bird, what they will miss if he doesn't play, and we'll talk about that, is the fact that who's going to lead, who's going to inspire, who's going to have the courage, and that will be interesting in the second half.
We're no closer to knowing the answer. You heard Tom Hammond's report. There is a possible fracture up in the area of the upper cheekbone, but the doctor said we won't know until the end of halftime for sure. And here's how it happened, Pat.
Well, he took the total brunt of the parquet floor, makes a great effort to go after a loose ball. That's what this game is about, and they would be hard-pressed without his leadership. And I think the one area it would affect, Bob, the officials. Close part of a game, Larry Bird on the court with the ball, crucial crunch time. Does he get the call or does somebody else?
All right, we'll let you know as soon as we have any more additional information about Larry Bird. In the meantime, we're going to turn things over to NBC News here for an update on President Bush's condition. Here now is Garrick Utley. Garrick?
Thank you, Bob. The president remains hospitalized, and here's the latest on his medical condition. This morning, the White House released a statement saying that while he is in great spirits, George Bush is still suffering from atrial fibrillation, the irregular rapid heartbeat he first experienced jogging yesterday afternoon. The statement said there are no signs of heart damage and there is no evidence of a heart attack. But the president is now being given a second drug to try to correct the irregularity. The White House calls that normal in such cases. Barbara Bush spent the night at Bethesda Naval Hospital with the president. When she left early this morning, she said her husband appeared fit and had slept well. According to the White House, the president has been conducting business from the hospital, conferring with Vice President Dan Quayle and several cabinet members. As for the vice president, he went to church today in Washington. There has been no change in his schedule and none is planned, according to the White House. But this afternoon, the president does remain hospitalized under observation for an irregular heartbeat. And of course, we'll keep you up to date as events warrant. We'll have a full wrap-up this evening on NBC Nightly News. I'm Garrick Utley. Now back to you, Bob.
All right, Garrick, thanks very much. We'll step aside here for a commercial break. When we come back, Mike Fratello, now of NBC, but formerly, of course, the coach of the Hawks, takes a look back to a terrific series where the Hawks came this close against the Celtics a few years ago. That's just a few hours from the time that the Hawks take the floor again with another possible breakthrough series against the Pistons. Game 5, Atlanta and Detroit is coming up later on NBC, and we're back with Mike Fratello after this. Auburn Hills, the fifth and deciding game of that series. Surprising to some people that the Hawks have been able to stretch it this far. 3 years ago, they had another breakthrough opportunity when they took the Celtics to the limit, but they didn't quite get it done. Mike Fratello, now of NBC, was the coach of that Atlanta Hawks team. He takes a look back to what might have been.
In the 1988 Eastern Conference semifinals, we faced the mighty Boston Celtics, who, like the Pistons of today, were the reigning power in the East. After splitting the first 4 games, we headed to Boston determined to steal the home court advantage. While Boston seemed flat, our intensity on both ends of the court was unmatched. We were in control, and with the Garden crowd silent and stunned, We stormed ahead in the series 3 games to 2. By the time we got back on the plane to go back to Atlanta, the celebration had begun. The city was in an uproar. All we had to do was win one more game. But in fact, the focus and concentration that was necessary was not there. As the Omni crowd filed in, they were primed and ready for a celebration. We, on the other hand, were not.
Parrish right down the middle.
Standing and watching the game. They're not in the game.
Hustling and running our way back into the game, we found ourselves down by a single basket with 5 seconds remaining.
Here we go. Livingston, no. Boston has won the game.
Now it was back to Boston. The loss in Game 6 proved to be a harsh dose of reality. Now we were focused, but would it be too late? Everyone was counting us out. Larry Bird even guaranteed victory for the Celtics. But if he was going to back up his word, we were going to make him fight for it. This final test between these two teams would ultimately be decided by their 2 greatest players. Back and forth they went, each answering the other shot for shot, and each almost single-handedly keeping his team in the game.
It's a duel! Put down your saber!
As Bird and Boston walked off victorious, Dominique and Atlanta would head home. That game was one of the greatest in playoff history, and it was a painful lesson for the Hawks. Atlanta is still trying to cross the line that separates champions from also-rans. The decisive Game 5 versus Detroit will show just how much the Hawks learned from that fateful series 3 years ago.
Can they cross the line today?
They have to. Detroit's going to play a physical, rebounding game. They won't double-team Wilkins. It's about having an opportunity to make a last impression. That goes for Doc Rivers, Dominique Wilkins, and Kevin Willis. They got to get it done today or they may break that team up.
Now, remember, though, the Pistons took all 5 from the head-to-head during the regular season, and the Hawks have already won 1 of 2 at the Palace. Isn't it asking too much to take 2 of 3 there?
No way. As a matter of fact, if you go back in history, the teams in a 5-game series that have won 1 of the first 2 games on the road have won 7 of the 12 games in Game 5.
You've done some homework.
Yes.
And you give
David Kahn did.
Giving credit to David Kahn seated back there. You're giving the Hawks a good chance then?
Yes.
All right, and obviously the Pacers have a heck of a chance too, tied at 58 with the Celtics. We don't know anything more at this moment about Larry Bird's condition, but perhaps Marv Albert and Mike Fratello will when we send it back to the Boston Garden after this from your local stations.
Indiana Pacers, Boston Celtics tied at 58 as we head to the second half. Marv Albert with the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello, and Tom Hammond from the Boston Garden. A furious pace, high-scoring first half, which you would think would favor the Indiana Pacers. That has been the setting of the series.
If you go back to the 4 previous games in this series, yes, it's true. The Celtics have wilted in the second half. The minutes building up, the older players slowing down as a result in favor of the Pacers. But the biggest concern has to be for the Celtics, will Larry Bird play in the second half?
And that is the question, the severity of the injury suffered by Bird with about 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the second quarter. Let's take another look at it. Now watch and listen to what took place. Larry Bird hitting the deck, chasing the loose ball, and then headed back to the locker room.
That right cheekbone bouncing back up off the floor, that could be a crack in there.
Well, the speculation is it might be a fracture. We have not received the definitive word, as Larry Bird was certainly the spark of the Boston Celtics with a big first half. Let's get back to Tom Hammond.
Marv, we can't really give you the definitive word on Larry Bird. He's obviously not warming up, and the second half is getting ready to start. He's still in the Celtics locker room with Dr. Arnold Scheller. His status for the second half still unknown, but it's obvious that he won't be here when the third quarter starts. We'll let you know when we find out more about that tough blow to the head that you saw so graphically on our shot.
All right, Tom, 15 points for Bird, 15 for Person. The Celtics and Pacers tied at 58. We'll be back in a moment. Back to the Boston Garden, 14,890 on hand, the usual capacity crowd. Well, you look back, game 4 on Friday night. In the first half, Bird with 12 and then cooled off. The same for Parrish and McHale, so that veteran front line was not able to maintain the pace. And in the first half today, big numbers by Bird and McHale. Will the stamina factor catch up once again? What can Boston do to slow down the Indiana Pacer tempo?
Well, maybe they have to attack a little bit defensively themselves. In other words, press the guys that have been pressing you all game. Get them to maybe pull up and look a little bit. Jam the guy running out of bounds to slow the inbounds pass. There's a number of things they can do to try and slow up the Pacer attack.
That appeared to be a design play with Dreiling taking it to the hoop on the first possession. A rare offensive move for Greg Dreiling. McHale. And here come the Pacers. Reggie Lewis able to stop the ball. Now Person around Lewis. Rebound, Dreiling. Celtics and Pacers tied at 58. Parrish from Shaw. And McHale keeping it alive. Blocked from behind by Miller. Good play by Reggie Miller. And McHale looked like he was shaken up.
Keep an eye on McHale after the offensive move as he makes a strong one to the basket right here. He's struggling not only with a bad ankle, but a real bad toe right now. He turns it as he lands after the shot.
This has been an injury hit Celtic club. 22nd timeout has been called. You mentioned the injuries of McHale, Larry Bird with the injury suffered in the second quarter, and of course he's had the back problems throughout. Reggie Lewis has had a back injury. Brian Shaw sprained right ankle. Derek Smith back from knee surgery. And Kevin McHale looking a bit on the woozy side. Will hang in. We're just underway in the third. Parrish battling for position with Dreiling. And he draws the foul. That is number 3 on Dreiling. 3 apiece on Dreiling and Schrempf. For the Celtics, 3 apiece on Brown and Smith.
Robert Parrish with only 3 field goal attempts in the first half. 2 for 3 in 20 minutes of play on the floor. He did an outstanding job at the defensive end for the Celtics. But without Larry Bird on the floor right now, he and Kevin McHale will shoulder the burden of the offense.
Just changed the foul. Michael Williams trying to help out, picked it up. So Dreiling has 2, and the Celtics continue the erratic performance at the foul line. Boston leads by 1. Celtics 11 for 17 from the line. Person stopped. Miller rejected and fouled. Basket won't count. And McHale does not like the call.
Well, the movement offense is getting Person free in the lane, but the Celtics are collapsing on the ball, getting pieces from behind. Remember, they're a very good shot blocking team. McHale on the offensive rebound by the Pacers, tries to get it from behind, but gets a piece of the arm.
Reggie Miller is 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Well, Bob Hill took over from Dick Versailles back on the 20th of December. At the time, the Pacers 9 and 15, a troubled ball club. At one point, they'd lost 11 straight on the road, but they have turned around. Hill implementing more of an up-tempo style, which has worked well. One-time coach of the New York Knicks, he had replaced QB Brown early in the 86-87 season. He was a head coach in Bologna, Italy. His team won the Cup of Italy. Before the pros, a longtime assistant at Kansas under Ted Owens and Larry Brown. Reggie Lewis providing Boston with a 1-point lead. Well, they attempted the TD pass, and it did not work. Here's Shaw, fouled by Person.
The crowd reacts, but all Chuck Person did is try to break up a 2-on-1 or 3-on-2 fast break situation. He was willing to let him take it out on the side. He realizes that they're in trouble right now defensively. He just sticks his shoulder in there, commits the foul before a shot takes place.
Lewis backing Miller. Shaw from deep. Ryan Shaw with his third field goal. He has 6. And it's Boston 63, Indiana 60. Gamble deflected away. He was looking for the call, but he knocked it out, according to the official, Dick Bavetta.
When the crowd gets in it, it's amazing how the defensive intensity will pick up. The Celtics know their backs are to the wall right now. They know their leader's not around. Someone else has to step up. Who will that be?
LaSalle Thompson with his first field goal of the game. And it's the Celtics by 1. Detlef Schrempf getting set to report in. Gamble, McHale, Parrish up front. Lewis and Shaw are at the guards. Larry Bird remains back in the Boston dressing room. Parrish beating the double team and drawing the foul.
It's interesting that Robert Parrish just amazes you with new things every once in a while. I don't know the last time I remember seeing him split a double team stepping through a la Kevin McHale, but he certainly does it here. Gets the opportunity for a couple free throws.
That foul on Drowning, so he now has 3 and he sits down. Schrempf has come on and Indiana will go with the smaller lineup. Robert Parrish, 37 years old. We asked him recently, how old does he feel basketball-wise? He said about 30. He has had another solid season. Boston with a 3-point lead. Person for 3. Yes! And the game is tied at 65.
When Person sets the screen for a pick and roll, the problem is if you try and help on Michael Williams coming off, Person steps back behind the 3-point line, and it's such a quick release.
13 for Kevin McHale. Boston with a 2-point advantage. Miller off the pick. And Thompson able to get there. Shaw with the steal. Oh, he lost it. Brian Shaw with the Shore 2. Coughed it up. That has the crowd buzzing.
Talk about the bad bounces on this parquet floor in the Garden. He's certainly got one of the worst you could ever expect.
And Chuck Person with 20 points has tied it at 67. Here's Parrish. Boston by 2. And Indiana continues the furious pace. Williams was hit by Shaw. That's 3 on Shaw. Derek Smith checking back in, replacing Kevin Gamble.
On the rotation, Shaw comes up with the steal. I think he's getting his steps ready, trying to decide what kind of dunk he's going to do, and instead, the ball slips off his hand. A sure 2 turns into a 0.
You don't think that was the floor now? I know there are dead spots here, Mike. I think you're being very kind.
Nothing for you on that one.
He lost it. Well, we were talking about the dead spots on the floor with Chuck Person, who said that it's not his favorite basketball floor. The parquet here and the floor at Madison Square Garden can be tough. But Person said he loves this arena in terms of shooting the ball, as we've seen. Nice move by Shaw, and the Celtics lead at 71-69. Thompson. LaSalle Thompson is now 1 for 6. Shaw and Schrempf rebounds. Schrempf backing McHale. One of the rare occasions the shot clock is under 10 for Indiana. Nice feed. LaSalle Thompson from Michael Williams. And the game is tied at 71.
Michael Williams does a great job of breaking the defense down. He saw the clock was underneath, made his move to the basket, drew the next defender, then dumped it off.
Bob Hill telling us that the play of Williams has really helped turn the Pacers around. And here comes Larry Bird. As Michael Williams is covered by Robert Parrish. Well, not the same significance because we're talking a championship series, but certainly this out of the pages of Willis Reed in Game 5 of the championship series involving the Knicks and the Lakers in 69-70. Throughout this timeout, they have been standing and cheering since Larry Bird made his way from underneath the tunnel from the Boston locker room. He went out with 4:23 remaining in the second after taking the fall, and he is back in the ballgame.
Think about this now. He's coming on the floor. Yes, he's emotionally charged, and so are the rest of the Celtics, but he has not had a chance to warm up at halftime. No shots, hasn't handled the basketball. He must run back at this tremendous tempo and pace that Indiana has set here to start the second half.
Michael Williams at the line, and the game is tied at 73. 6:45 remaining in the third. It's the fifth and deciding game between the Celtics and the Pacers. The winner to go on to meet the winner between Atlanta and Detroit. Here's Parrish. Boston by 2. LaSalle Thompson, and he has tied it at 75. What a moment watching Larry Bird make his return. And here's Bird for 3. Celtics and Pacers tied at 75. It's been close throughout. Boston at 1 point led by as many as 10. Person from downtown. Shot by Chuck Person, and he gets the treatment from the crowd as he reacted. Try to pump his ball club up. Indiana with a 3-point lead. Boston within 1. 15 points for Robert Parrish. Shrimp with the step and foul by Bird. That's his first.
Robert Parrish in 20 minutes of the first half, only 3 shot attempts, 2 for 3 already. In the first 7 minutes of the third quarter, he's 3 for 4 for the Celtics.
And left Shrimp to the free throw line. He's 2 for 2 from the line. Chuck Person has hit 3 out of 4 from 3-point land. He has 23 to lead Indiana. 15 points for Reggie Miller, 13 for Michael Williams. High point men for the Celtics. Bird and Parrish with 15. McHale has 13. A 3-point Pacer lead. Lewis drawing the double team, and he kicked it out.
Another one of those turnovers forced by the pressing defense of the Pacers.
And the Celtics admittedly lost their composure and poise off the Indiana pressure on Friday night. Bird on the rebound, pops it out to Lewis, puts the move on pressure. 80-79, Indiana. 4:45 remaining in the third as Darren Smith is called for his 4th.
Derek Smith was determined that time not to give up anything easy, but Bird always looking down the floor, finds Lewis, and Person gambled that time. He thought Lewis was going to cross the ball over to the left lane. Instead, he kept it himself.
Celtics have got over the foul limit. Chuck Person, a 72% free throw shooter, 4 for 5 today, will go to the line. They call him the Rifleman. His full name is Chuck Connors Person. His mom, a big fan of the old television show, The Rifleman, starring Chuck Connors, who played briefly for the Boston Celtics. Also a fine baseball player, saw service with the old Brooklyn Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs. Chuck in action. Chuck, the TV star. And here's this Chuck, the TV star. Indiana 82 and Boston 79. Chuck Connors is a baseball player, first baseman, but unfortunately a fellow by the name of Gil Hodges was the starting first baseman of the Dodger organization. Here's Lewis. Reggie Lewis with 16, and Boston is within 1 with 4.5 remaining in the third. Person for 3. Third on the rebound. Up above, the 16 championship banners hanging from the rafters. Red Auerbach, the president of the Boston Celtics, watching his club attempt to stay alive and advance in the playoffs. Larry Bird has returned. We're 4 minutes remaining in the third. Boston by 1. Reggie Miller's shot rebounded by Bird, who whips it down to Lewis.
Sensational look down the floor, and he put it out there just far enough to get it over the defender.
Michael Williams cuts it back to a 1-point Celtic lead. Bird with the step on Shrep. Yes! Celtics 87 and the Pacers 84. Here's Williams. Rebound McHale. Lewis. Boston looking for a foul. Nothing called. Indiana with the numbers. Shrep. Oh, what a move to the right hand. Cutting left and then able to hit. It's Boston 87. Indiana 86. Just under 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
Just when the crowd seems to feel it has a chance to yell a little bit, they come right back at you.
Bird on the reverse. And it counts.
The bulk of the work on the defensive boards is always looking down the floor and just gets it out over the top of Reggie Miller. And he's going to lead this group with a little bit of emotion, and then also by taking it strong to the basket, showing them how it's to be done.
Foul called on LaSalle Thompson. 3-point play for Bird. He has 22, and Boston leads by 4. 2:45 remaining in the third. Rick Smith, who just checked in. And a flagrant foul being indicated on Indiana. A technical foul. Ed Rush indicating a flashing of the elbow by Rick Smith.
Well, when the shot goes up, everyone is turning to run back so quickly that sometimes those big bodies are going to get tangled up as the two big men go to take off. Smith's just trying to clear his way, brings those arms up. McHale helps with the call a little bit by reminding Eddie Rush that he just got hit with an elbow.
Well, now they say double technical, Smiths and McHale. And the announcement that McHale is also called for the tee, so it nullifies free throws. This technical foul is charged to McHale and Smits. Bird looking for the three. Bird beating Smits, feeding McHale. Good hustle by Derek Smith, and he will go to the foul line. Vern Fleming charged with the personal.
That last shot by Kevin McHale, a perfect example of why coaches say if you have the opportunity, finish the play with a dunk. Be sure. Don't give it a chance to roll out. Slam it down.
During the regular season, Eric Smith only 3 for 4 from the foul line. He has been a major part of the Celtic performance this afternoon. And Boston now leads 92-86. Loose ball foul indicated. Against the Celtics, it is a push called on Smith. That's number 5 on Derek Smith.
And that last shot by Vern Fleming was a case of all the years of playing a certain style having set in. When he came off that screen and was wide open, he hesitated for a second. The point guard mentality took over and said, wait, I need to look for someone else first. And then he said, I am the guy that's open. Let me shoot this thing. But it threw the shot off.
Indiana now 27 for 29 from the line. Here is Ed Pinckney coming on for the first time, but the reaction to the inspirational play of number 43, the veteran Derek Smith.
Chris Ford has to take him out with 5 fouls and a whole quarter to go. He needs him to be available in case just a couple possessions they need a stop on Person.
Pacers only 8 for 20 from the field in the third. Boston has shot well. Sloppy pass, and it will be Indiana ball. Last touch by Bird.
Again, the half-court trap causing problems for the Celtics. They're not quite sure how they want to attack. Right there, does go off Bird last. Good call by Dick Pavetta.
I don't know if you noticed one-time Celtic ML Carr jumping up. And that's something to say to the official.
And we'll see the towel come out soon.
And Reggie Miller able to hit his 5th field goal. He has 17 points in all. Celtics lead by 3. 1:45 to go in the third quarter. 5th and deciding game. It's best of 5 tied at 2 apiece. Lewis had it slapped away. It will be Boston ball. They'll have 8 on the 24. Larry Bird making his return from an apparent fracture of the right cheek. Able to hang in. He left with 4:20 remaining in the third quarter. Bird's pass stolen. Recaptured. It's Pinckney up front now with McHale and Bird. Backcourt of Brown and Lewis. Mike Sanders knocks it away.
And they know that Mike Sanders is a little bit too small to guard Larry Bird. Larry's saying, throw the pass hard so I can catch the thing. If it's too soft, you give Sanders a chance to come around and get a hand on it and knock it out of bounds. Bird's got him pinned. He wants it harder.
Sanders at 6'6", giving away 3 inches to Bird, who's trying to post him up through the foul. Yes! And it counts!
In this league long enough, you say to yourself, how many times does he drive that spike through your heart with shots like this?
3-point play for Bird. He has 25. He has led his Celtics to a 6-point lead. A minute remaining in the third. And the foul called on the Pacers. A tripping foul away from the ball charged to Reggie Miller.
You need to understand, once you're involved with a technical foul situation, the officials may be looking just a little bit harder to make sure nothing breaks out. But that time with the offensive foul on the screen.
They doubled up on Bird and down to Brown. Rejected by Smits. Brown on the recovery. Here's Pinckney, and he's hit by Smits.
And the reason the crowd is reacting this way is because for the one stretch during this season, Ed Pinckney came off the bench, and this was his specialty. Offensive rebounds, back up and in. They just brought him in the last couple minutes, comes up with a big board.
Chris Ford has told us on a number of occasions how pleased he's been with the play of Ed Pinckney in particular. In the many absences of Kevin McHale and Larry Bird, it's been Pinckney who has come in and has done a good job.
And Ed Pinckney gives him a lot of versatility. He can play a guy that's a little bit smaller. He has the ability to move his feet. Plus, he's an outstanding low-post defender. And Pinckney is a guy who is willing to submerge his ego and play the role they ask of him on this team. Defend and rebound for us. The rest will come to you.
Ed Pinckney in his 6th year out of Villanova. Gets 1 out of 2 from the line, and Boston has a 7-point lead. 40 seconds left in the third. Off the turnover. Bird fires for Brown, and Brown hits. Celtics 98, and the Pacers 89. Stripped and fouled by Brown.
I'm not sure that they're calling it on the right hand strip. Instead, the left hand on the hip by D. Brown is what the officials both seem to signal. Right hand gets it, but left hand, the one that's kind of guiding him along, is the one they call the foul for. I'm not so sure that that's significant enough at this time to call.
Michael Williams, one of the NBA's best at the free throw line, is now 6 for 6. Here's Vern Fleming replacing Chuck Person, who will get a brief rest. Sits down with 26. He's hit 8 out of 14 from the field and is connected on 3 from downtown. Marv Albert, Mike Fratello, Tom Hanna from the Boston Garden. An emotional 5th and final game of this best-of-5 series, and the Celtics now lead by 7. Down to 10 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Riley broke it up. Brown for Bird. Oh, he got walloped by Miller. A very difficult game physically for Larry Bird. We're down to 2 and 4/10 seconds remaining in the quarter. Here's another look at it.
Great play by Brown, just coming up with it and finding Bird, and just what Larry needs, another shot to the right side of the face.
20-second timeout taken by the Indiana Pacers.
You'll see Larry come out with headgear to start the fourth quarter. Brown knows where to look. Let me find Larry. Something good will happen for us.
Yes, Larry will need the end swell that is usually applied in the corners of boxers during prize fights. He has taken a pounding. A dramatic return by Bird in the third. There's so much history, so much tradition involving the Boston Celtics. And I get the feeling we're watching a piece of that history unfold as Larry Bird extends to a 9-point Celtic lead. Miller fires one, and that's the end of the third here in Boston. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station. Well, the crowd responding to the announcement that Larry Bird has passed John Havlicek as the all-time Celtic scorer in the playoffs. Larry Bird with 27 today, and he has done it in dramatic fashion. Hearing the chant of Larry. Second quarter, 4:23 remaining. Bird hit the floor. Injured his right cheekbone. We do not know the extent of that injury, the severity of it. It will be x-rayed after the game. But Bird has made his return, and certainly sparked the Celtics in the third quarter. They scored 42 points. So much for the theory of fatigue and stamina. Lewis extends to a 102-91 Boston lead.
Boston's had some big quarters in this series, but that's the biggest 42-point quarter since Bird's return to the floor. 27-20 Celtics.
And Bird on the rebound. Boston outscored Indiana 42-33 in the third. We're just underway in the fourth quarter. Lewis. Here's Bird, guarded now by Schrempf. 5 on the 24. Lewis fires. LaSalle Thompson on the rebound. Miller. And Parrish off the board. Crowd wanted Parrish to shoot. He had the opening. Takes it to the hoop.
Something new from the Chief. Get it at the foul line. Drive it to your right hand.
Bob Hill taking a timeout. The Celtics with their biggest lead of the game. A margin of 13. Robert Parrish leading a 12-2 Boston run. Welcome back to the parquet at Boston Garden, where the Celtics outscored the Pacers 42-33. In the third, they now have their biggest lead. The winner today will meet the winner of Atlanta and Detroit. Fifth and final game coming up. Dominique and his Hawks, Bill Laimbeer and his Detroit Pistons. That is next, right here on NBC. I would think the losing team between Atlanta and Detroit is looking to a major roster shuffle. LaSalle Thompson able to knock it down. Mike, if the Pistons go out and do not make it to the next round, even if they go to the next round and are eliminated, I would think we will see drastic changes on the two-time defending champion Detroit Pistons.
I don't think there's any question as Robert Parrish makes his move to the basket.
They will jump it up.
Both of these teams are at a point where a big decision has to be made. The world champion Pistons and the Hawks both have players who almost were traded at the end of last season. Obviously harder with Detroit by winning the championship, but the time has come for a decision to be made with both teams.
Celtics by 11. And you can see the domination by Boston thus far in the second half. Bird ahead of the field. For Larry Bird, and it's the Celtics by 13. Person lost it. It's a 3-on-2 that Parrish decides to hold up. Bird from downtown. Brown showing his quickness.
That's his side of the floor, Larry Bird. The left side. He's knocked out so many big jumpers from that area during his career.
Well, D. Brown thought he had Robert Parrish off to the left. And it will be Indiana ball. Here's Vern Fleming replacing Michael Williams. 17 for the three-year man out of Baylor, Michael Williams. So Fleming in the backcourt along with Schrempf. Pinckney leaning over Person draws the foul.
In game 4, in a very similar situation, only at the end of the third quarter with Boston up 10, 13 points, Indiana went to the three-point shot. It got its momentum going. It pulled the defense out for Boston. Good things started to happen as they turned it around.
Miller for three. Reggie Miller looking to shoot the Pacers back into it, as you mentioned, doing it from long range. And it is now a 10-point Boston advantage.
It's almost an exact replica of what happened in game 4. We'll see if they can maintain now this momentum.
Indiana 5 for 10 from downtown. Parrish. Oh, he's upset. And He and Shrimp exchanging curious looks. Parrish upset with himself, and in reacting, got a piece of Shrimp, and that was purely accidental.
Sign of veteran players, knowing that the Pacers knock out a three, you want to stop them from getting on a roll, take the ball down inside, get to the free throw line. That'll stop their run.
Foul called on Miller, 4 for Reggie Miller. Robert Parrish has come up strong in this 5th and deciding game. 6 for 8 for the line. He now has 18 points. Boston, 108. Indiana, 96. Down to 8:20 to go in the fourth. Pinckney's done a good job on Person. Fleming, rebound, Pinckney. Chris Ford earlier received the big effort from Derek Smith. He is now getting it from Ed Pinckney. Parrish with the head fake. And the bucket. Plus the foul.
Parrish with that patented quick spin to the baseline. He's used it so often in his career, at no better time than right now to pull it out.
Mike, rarely do you see this kind of emotion from Larry Bird.
No, but Larry Bird is answering the challenge put forth to him by Chuck Person and the Indiana Pacers, and he's letting it all hang out today.
Bird, Parrish, and McHale each have played 9 deciding games of series coming into today, and this is what the Indiana Pacers are up against. All 3 have been able to rise. And today, 29 for Bird, 21 for Parrish, and McHale contributing with 13. Bird able to get to the rebound and fires. Boston 110, Indiana 96. 4 minutes gone by in the fourth. Bird again ends up on the floor, and he was pushed by Person.
Person stepping up with the blind screen right in the area that Larry Bird doesn't need, in the middle of the back.
That will not be well received around the Boston area.
That won't be played over again too many times, will it?
Now Shrimp guarding Bird. 5 on the 24. Parrish able to regroup. Bird for 3. Larry Bird continues to have his difficulties with the three-point shot. 1 for 14 from downtown of the serve. Brown got a piece of it. Dean Brown with the rejection. Hand check by Miller through the foul. That's 5 on Reggie Miller. Michael Williams checking back in. Crowd responding as Reggie Miller sits down, picking up number 5, leaves with his 20 points.
But you can bet he won't be on that bench for too long. Bob Hill just trying to buy a minute or two. He needs Miller back in there, hoping that maybe he can explode with a few three-pointers, try to make that Celtic defense push out.
Larry Bird receiving another standing ovation. Replaced by Kevin McHale. Bird with 29 points, 11 for 18 from the field, but it's been more than the statistical line when you talk about Larry Bird here this afternoon. McHale called for the foul, and now Larry will stretch out. Larry saying the other day that yes, he will require back surgery when the playoffs are over for the Boston Celtics.
That stretch on the floor since he returned to the game from the locker room, he went almost 12 straight minutes of playing time before taking his first rest. And again, he will not sit for too long. Or he will not lay down for too long.
But aside From the usual back ailment that Bird suffers, he has been wrapped around pretty good here today by the Pacers. Parrish, it will not count. A foul on Parrish. That is his fourth.
Parrish knocking over Shrimp as he tries to find his way to the basket. The problem right now for the Celtics, without Bird on the floor, they need someone to settle him down. Indiana's going to press and trap for the remainder of this game, trying to get back in it.
Well, on Friday night at Market Square, what a move by Michael Williams off the spin. On Friday night, the Pacers came from 13 back, and they beat the Celtics 116-113.
And the way that happened was poor shot selection by the Celtics, and Robert Parrish did not touch the basketball in that stretch run.
And the Celtic guards had their difficulties with the pressure. 3 out of the 24. Pinckney. Oh, that's a big bucket. Ed Pinckney with his first field goal. Boston 114. Indiana 99. There's Person for 3. Yes! Chuck Person hitting on his fourth from downtown. He has 29 points. It was last Sunday that Person hit on 7 3-pointers, a playoff record.
Let's see how many times the shot comes for the Celtics with the clock all the way down. Pinckney nailed the jumper, but they can't stay with that. They must continue to attack.
8 rebounds for Parrish. And the Celtics want to talk it over. 5:29 remaining in the fourth. It's Boston by 12. Welcome back to Boston with 5:29 remaining in the fourth quarter. Outstanding games for both Chuck Person and Larry Bird. They each have 29. Bird 11 for 18. Person 9 for 15. He's hit 4 from downtown. The timeout rundown. Indiana 2 left. Boston has 3. They both use their 20s into Celtic ball as we resume. Parrish, McCallum, Pinckney up front. Lewis and Shaw in the backcourt. By Pinckney. The Pacers wanted offensive interference. Bob Hill very upset. Celtics now lead 116-102. Fleming, yes, and it counts. Vern Fleming with his first field goal. He was fouled by McHale. So Fleming to the line. That's 5 on McHale.
Indiana claimed that the ball was still in the cylinder when Ed Pinckney went up to tip the thing in. Ball bounces off to the right. I think right there, even though it's not a real good angle, you can see that it was cleared off far enough not to be goaltending.
So it's the Celtics 116 and the Pacers 105. Indiana to the pressure. And Shaw gets it across. Lewis lost it. Williams trying to call for the timeout. Let's see what the call is here by Jess Kersey. Yes, he got the call before he lost possession.
Great call by Michael Williams. He knew he was on his way out of bounds. He had made the big play by coming up with the steal, and just before he goes out, he yells it to Jess Kersey on the way down. If he would have touched the ground, no timeout.
We'll be back in a moment. Down to 1 timeout left. Boston with 3. They each have fouls to give. Let's go to Tom Hammond.
Bob Hill has gone to a small lineup. Detlef Schrempf will be his tallest man in the game, and he says we got to keep running, and we need some defensive stops.
All right, Tom. Indiana down 116-105. Lewis was run into by Fleming. And Mike, a decision here for Chris Ford. Do you come back with Larry Bird? Is it possible he might wait too long? Can Bird still get back into it if he's put in, say, in a minute or two?
Well, you never can count Larry Bird out, but if he's going to bring him back, it's going to happen, in my opinion, in the next minute and a half. He's got to get him in there, stabilize the team. He knows he's going to make his free throws if they start fouling down the stretch. Also, the perimeter threat.
A wrestling match between Person and McHale. A little bump from Person. Shot clock is down to 5. They double up on Parrish. It's down to 3, 2, 1. Shaw. And rebounded by Williams. Fleming going right at Parrish. Ern Fleming with another strong drive, and Boston wants a timeout. And let's see how Chris Ford plays it now. The margin is down to 9 with much time left. 4 minutes, 12 seconds to go in the fourth. Well, Chris Ford has made his decision. Larry Bird returns. Indiana has only one timeout left. Boston with 2. They have both used their 20s. At one stretch, Boston led by as many as 16. The Pacers in the midst of an 11-4 run, and is now a 9-point Celtic lead. Fifth and deciding game of this intensely played series. The winner goes on to meet the winner between Atlanta and Detroit. That's coming up next here on NBC. The shot clock was running down. It's a 24-second violation. Possession back to the Pacers.
That's the third time in the last 4 possessions that a shot has come for the Celtics with the clock at 5-4, or that time the 24-second violation. It's a problem. There's still going to be about 12 to 14 possessions or possession changes in this basketball game, plus the fouls you have to count in there.
Person for 3. Fleming able to recapture. 3.5 remaining in the fourth quarter. Person looking for the setup. Now goes to the 2. That person not want to create by himself. Bird. Yes. Boston 118, Indiana 107. Michael Williams is fouled by Larry Bird. That's his second. Williams will go to the foul line.
Larry Bird kind of ball fakes to 2 or 3 guys and then said, well, I'm going to take this one myself and knock it out.
31 points for Bird on 12 out of 19 from the field. 7 for 8 from the line. Michael Williams 7 for 7 from the free throw line. And he is an 88% shooter at the charity stripe.
Larry Bird felt that Michael Williams came to him and created the contact, and then the good block at the end, and he rushes, no, your body first got him.
It is Boston by 9. 3:05 left in the fourth. Nice move by Shaw. Williams spotting Miller. Boston now by 7. 2:45 remaining in the fourth. Pressure by the Pacers.
One big factor against Indiana is the fact that they only have 1 timeout remaining as another turnover is forced by the pressing, trapping Pacers. The Celtics need to come back to the basketball. Chris Ford telling them, calm down, keep your spacing, but come back and help your teammates out.
Pacers with the ball, trailing by 7. Miller spotting up for the 3. He thought he was hit.
Reggie Miller has a way of kicking the defender as he goes up and trying to draw those fouls. Bird with the bad pass turnover.
And here's Michael Williams. Larry Bird upset with his teammate. Not sure who he wanted cutting, but he clearly indicated he was looking for a move along the baseline. It's now only a 5-point Celtic lead with just under 2 minutes remaining in the fourth. Parrish kicks it and lost it. The Pacers once again have come driving back into it, down by only 5. Shrek with the step and the bucket. It's a 3-point Boston lead, and the Celtics call for time with 1 minute and 42 remaining in the fourth quarter. What an effort by the Pacers.
Well, understanding the pace that Indiana's trying to play at, with as much time as was left, 4:12 to go, and it was a 9-point game, you just couldn't feel comfortable if you were Boston. You're struggling trying to get the ball up the floor. You're winding up with low percentage shots with the clock running it down. And the last thing you need is some turnovers. Sure enough, all of those things happen to the Celtics. And Indiana scores so quickly, it uses very little time off the clock.
Pacers with a 19-6 run. Well, today's Miller Genuine Draft Player of the Game, Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics. And on behalf of Larry, NBC, and Miller Genuine Draft, will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Larry Bird, late in the second quarter, landing on his right cheek. X-rays, we're told, will be taken after the game. Bird was able to return. There is the fear that he may have broken something, but we have not received further word. Bird has led the way with 31 points. Very impressive stat line, 8 rebounds, 7 assists for Bird, but right now Boston is clinging to a 3-point lead. Coming up next here on NBC, the second part of our NBA playoff doubleheader. It'll be Atlanta and Detroit in the 5th and deciding game. Don Criqui and Ron Rothstein will bring it to you from the Palace of Auburn Hill.
The Hawks have already beaten them once in their building in the playoffs. Go back a year ago to the regular season. Atlanta beat them twice in their building during the regular season last year.
And at 40 remaining in the fourth. And again, they double up on Shaw. Bird chased by Fleming. Here's Brown with 10 on the shot clock. Brown shoots. Bird rebounds. And a foul called. It's a loose ball foul.
You have to wonder, the quick, easy scores coming from Indiana, is it a result that aging front line of the Celtics are having a hard time getting back in the last 3 to 4 minutes of this game? The clock runs down, they miss a shot or turn it over, they just can't change ends perhaps.
Michael Williams called for the foul. Indiana now over the limit, and Larry Bird to the line. He is 7 for 8 from the line. Well, Rick Smits enjoyed the Bird miss. Bird always among the leaders in free throws, 89% for the season. Boston by 4, 1:20 remaining in the fourth. Person for an open three. What play by Fleming? Miller for Shrimp. And it's down to a 2-point margin. 119-117. Just under 1 minute remaining in the fourth quarter. Bird draws the double team. 5 on the shot clock. Here's Shaw, and he was tripped up. So Shaw to the line. For the first time today, he is an 82% free throw shooter. Here's Derek Smith, who was able to give his club a lift in the first half. Checking back in. He departed after picking up his 5th foul. Robert Parrish will get a rest.
One guy to keep an eye on if you're Boston is Detlef Schrempf behind the three-point line. You give credit to Reggie Miller. You understand that Person's going to be behind there. Schrempf 0 for 3 in this series from the three-point line. Only 40 attempts during the regular season. But when he was with Dallas, he took his share and made a good percentage of it.
Boston with a 3-point lead. At one point, the Celtics were on a roll. Timeout has been called. A critical miss by Brian Shaw. In early April, Boston had a record of 54-20. Only a game and a half behind Chicago for best record in the NBA, but they faltered in the final weeks of the season. Remember, this is a team that opened up at 29-5. And in their last 52 games, only 6 over 500 at 29-23, and they dropped their last 4 of the regular season.
I think you could take the premier player away from any one of the teams that jump out with early season records, outstanding records. If you took Michael Jordan away from Chicago, as happened to Detroit when Isaiah went out, as happened to Philadelphia when Barkley went out, the team is going to struggle. They've got to find someone new to step up, and they search for that until it either happens or the player returns.
And this is a Celtic team that a year ago went 52-30, finished second in the Atlantic Division, and then after winning the first 2 games of the opening round of the playoffs against the Knicks, saw the Knicks come roaring back to take the final 3, including the finale here in Boston. And that occurred a year ago to the day tomorrow. The Celtics blowing the 2-0 lead in the best-of-5. That led to the departure of Coach Jimmy Rogers. He was fired with several years left on his contract. The front office reshuffled. Big East Commissioner Dave Gavitt brought in to oversee the organization. And Boston has had an outstanding regular season up until the past few weeks. And right here, obviously, on the line on this 5th and final game, and we're down to 42 3/10 seconds. Boston with a 3-point lead, and it is Indiana in possession.
Watch Person after he throws the ball inbounds, running into a spot-up area. Keep an eye on the Celtics switching on all screens to keep someone at all times on the 3-point shooters.
Person is 4 for 7 from downtown. Miller is 2 for 7. They're looking for the 3. Shrimp played tightly by Lewis. Pass intended for Thompson, knocked away, and the call by Jess Kersey against Boston. The foul picked up by Lewis.
The deflection right there on the hustle for the loose ball. Lewis called for undercutting Shrimp. The push called by Jess Kersey. Keep in mind now, there are no timeouts left for Indiana, so they must play the defense, foul, take the gamble when they have to, put Boston on the free throw line. There are 29 6/10 seconds left. Without a timeout, they do not have the ability to advance the ball should Boston run this shot clock out. They must make something happen with the defense.
Kevin McHale checking back in. The Celtics do have 1 timeout remaining. Indiana 33 for 37 from the line. Shrimp is 5 for 6. Oh, he missed a big one. Detlef Shrimp, an 82% free throw shooter. It is a 2-point game. 29 6/10 seconds remaining in the 4th. Boston 120, Indiana 118. McHale facing the double team, and that's a backcourt violation. He stepped in the backcourt.
An excellent call by Dick Bavetta. Both feet had come across the half-court line. McHale was in the double team. No timeouts left. They've got to play from here.
McHale went front court, and then he stepped back.
Both feet in the front court. Foot steps back. I'm not quite sure, after looking at the replay, that he still was not in backcourt as far as change of possession. Left foot did not get all the way over.
Indiana in possession. Down by 2. That's time remaining in regulation. The shot clock turned off. Person for 3, looking to win it. Rebounded by Shaw, and he's fouled by Williams. 6 6/10 seconds remaining. Chuck Person went for the 3.
Tried to hit the home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. Went for the whole thing on the 1 shot. Had a chance to drive it to the basket, perhaps get fouled. There was plenty of time left, or position it for a better shot. Instead, he goes with the 3.
What do you think? Trying to come up with the game winner. I don't know if you're coaching this ball club, if that's a shot that you would call.
Well, I don't think you can live with that philosophy the whole year, and then when it gets down to the last possession of the game, fault anybody for doing that. That's how they play. Miller, Person with 3-pointers, who tried to take it home right there with the shot. That's their style.
And Shaw with the clutch free throws. He missed a big one earlier. 4-point lead. No timeouts left. Person fired and hits a 3-pointer. And now the Pacers give the foul. 1 5/10 seconds remaining. It's a 1-point game. Chuck Person fired that one from area code range.
If you give points based on distance, this would be a tie score right now for that last one. Person just didn't get a real good look at that first three-point shot attempt.
Chuck Person 5 for 8 from downtown.
That one was past downtown. That one is
those are the suburbs.
Just getting over there, court line.
Now there is a discussion, and Bob Hill and Chris Ford also talking it over. There was a foul, and we have some jostling back and forth between players. I see Derek Smith and LaSalle Thompson involved.
It could be that they're trying to draw the technical foul. If free throws should be awarded, be some way to tie this game up and go into overtime, or for a team to lose a game because you lose your poise at the end.
Well, Indiana without any timeouts left and 1 5/10 seconds remain. Brian Shaw to the free throw line. He was fouled just a moment ago. It is a 1-point Boston lead. A wild finish here at the Boston Garden. Shaw is now 4 out of 5 from the line. Two-point lead. Indiana will just whip it down. 3-point lead. And here's Schrempf for the Fling, and it is all over. The Boston Celtics, in a terrific series, have defeated the Indiana Pacers 124-121. They won it in 5 to advance to the second round. Bird and Person each with 32. Person hitting 5 from downtown. The final score again, the Celtics 124, the Pacers 121.